start with what your background is and how you came to Heritage.
Sure.
Actually, just your background first, and then I'll ask again about you.
So I'll begin.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a very quite a in a rural setting in remote village in Andhra Pradesh, and then I went to Delhi, studied architecture there in a school of planning and architecture, and then for a while I worked in Delhi in like typical architecture practice in disaster sector and all that, and then later I realized for the love of stories I have, I wanted to pursue masters which is more allied with history and in a sense. So I wanted to understand how history is written and what are the perceptions what is the historiography that goes behind understanding the essence of it. So there is only one master's program in India, like from SEPT University, Architecture History and Theory. So I joined there, and it was sort of a life-changing experience in terms of learning or the way I look at heritage or read heritage to be precise, or read cities or read people, their spaces and everything. So that was an experience, and post which somehow had a calling to come back. For almost 10 years I was in the northern part of India, and then I had some sort of calling to come back to like Telugu speaking states, my mother tongue, and then since then I married and we started living here for the love of the city. I never stayed here for a longer period than 2 months, which I used to come for some summers to my relative's house. There is something about the city always calls me. Like there is something very grounded, at the same time very rich of layers that it keeps adding itself to. So I mean somehow this is one city I can call a home more comfortably in a sense.
Yeah, so it's mostly like I mean I was not born in Hyderabad, so because of my dad, he was in army, so we were just like going to like all the places in India, and mostly it was not. And then like I studied like I was in a residential school, and then that was in Andhra Pradesh, near Vizag, and then I moved here to do my undergrad. And like while I was here, like also during all this like traveling and all that, like since childhood, moving from one city to another city, I was just very curious about to understand, like okay, we are in a new city, like what are in these cities and all that. Like, so that curiosity basically led me like be more interested in terms of heritage and all that, like understand the history, like like where does it like start, how did it start, like, and also so. But like when I came to Hyderabad, it was mostly like the culture of the food culture of Hyderabad, which very much intrigued me. And like basically like for example the tea itself, it's called Irani tea. Like why would it someone call it Irani tea, it's so Irani chai, what's it's called. So there's like, so what is the relation between Iran and all that, like, so that like basically like, it got me fascinated. And I was started looking it, and to understand, like and yeah, like we have fair share amount of inspiration from Persia and all that. And then I was in Europe. I was there for 4 years. Like again, like I was living in a very small Renaissance town, um, close to Milan. Like understanding the history from their perspective, and like trying to see, like how they're fascinated with a lot of things. How everyone is fascinated with their history, and then like looking back to India, and then we have so much of heritage and culture, and still it's so, I mean, not there, like there are not much publications or anything. Like if I want to read anything, it's very hard to find, so that like sort of uh, you know like gave me a push. And like we're like, okay, it's like, it's not, if not you, then who, who's going to start. So, and with that passion, we are back here and plan to do things. Yeah.
I really like that quote. If not you, then who?
Yeah.
True. I'd love to hear what brought you two together to then do like historical architecture. Like what is the heritage connection between you two?
So this is a funny story. I mean, so Rahul, there is this student body of architecture called NASA, it's a Nation Association for Students of Architecture. So he was a quite of the important role in that thing, and for that organization, our college in Delhi was sort of the headquarters. So he used to visit there often. That's when we became friends. Since we both speak the same mother tongue, we became acquainted. We were friends for a while. We went to a trip. He was the one who installed Instagram on with him. This is an app. You know, this will be a future. You should install something. So he made me post the first picture of Instagram.
Yeah,
there.
that was back in 2013. Yeah,
14,
yeah.
14 I think. So the first picture of mine is installed by him on Instagram. He's like, post it. This is going to the future. So that was largely then, and then again.
We're just friends,
we were friends.
Like,
for a long while, we haven't met to even. So after my masters, I came back to Hyderabad, and through a common friend, we started teaching in the same college. So that's when I think because of our interest, compared to other friends, being in the same place, the way we look at history or understand heritage or talk about heritage, we got connected together, and we felt. We both have even a lot of common interests, be it art, be it curation, be it talking about heritage. Since we worked on a couple of projects.
We curated like one small exhibition together. So that's when we realized we can achieve a lot by being together, especially in terms of museums and curation. So we also have that sort of interest. And then we were we never manifested, but it somehow we were okay, let's start a studio together and see.
And now we are working together.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a really cool story from the first Instagram post. Creating your own thing. Wow. I love that you're talking about exhibition space and curation too, because my project for this last few months actually has been to an adaptive reuse of the British residency to the Nizam British Museum / Research Center. So I'll definitely share.
That's a future proposal, what you're.
Yeah, so the goal is for it to be a proposal that then talking about it more, it's encouraging the restoration and the actuality of the proposal.
Right,
we don't have a donor or anything yet, but we're talking.
But I'm very curious because I still feel adaptive reuse is such a fancy term for Indian context because no one believes in it. Sadly, no one believes in it. Especially, the stakeholders or the bureaucrats or they have no idea of it. But we have so much built spaces which are which can be used for adaptive use, but no one concentrates on that.
That's a huge thing.
And somehow, this was just wanted to share this thought with you. The kind of the arguments that float around heritage in India. For example, in Ahmedabad, Luai Khan's IIM dormitory building, which was one of the masters of throughout the globe, who revered around the globe. His building is there, and there was a proposal to demolish the entire structure because it has some structural failures and everything. So the arguments around heritage, even now the Usmania Hospital in Hyderabad, there is a lot of most of the time the heritage arguments, whenever trying to when few bunch of people like us, when we argue that that building has to stay, a lot of people misinterpret it as a mere sense of nostalgia associated towards the past. But there is more to history or heritage than mere nostalgia. We are not talking about mere nostalgia. Come on, nostalgia is definitely one part of it. We are humans and then we have emotions, but at the same time, it is an artifact of the past that has to be preserved. That is one thing concrete that can be transferred to the further generations to show what was the past like, what was the history like. But there are limitations. A written piece or a story or a book can always be reprinted, translated, and further extended to 1,000 years. But the building has a life. That's a problem that we all face. So that's where your kind of thesis always play a crucial role. When we talk about adaptive reuse, we are trying to extend the life of the building, thereby taking it to further generations.
Which is very important. It's not only just a building; it's a culture, and we need to start looking from that angle. Predominantly, sadly, everything comes from the religious perspective, but nothing from the cultural perspective, which is very important. Where also the religion started, it's through the culture. So we have to say whatever we can say, and then basically spread the knowledge and make people aware of it.
That's so. This is the conversations that I've been having and been wanting to have more with just young people too.
This is one thing I'm quite hopeful about this country or even entire the world. Our generation is more. I'm very glad with the friends I have. Most of their minds are open. We discuss new ideas. We discuss fascinating things.
Yeah, like we are like around like 8 or 10 people. Like whenever we sit and we talk, we're just talking about like the architecture and like what's happening here, or like basically critiquing like something which is being built in, especially in Hyderabad, like because where we are like so much rooted. And with that also we actually started that like another sort of organization. It's called Fridays for Architecture and Urbanism. So
Called
FAU.
as FAU Hyderabad.
So where we basically wanted to bring like local people like who are not into this like subject, who are not architects, who are not predominantly in this field, but like who are fascinated or like who are interested in understanding the architecture or urbanism, like also how the city is growing. It's like rapidly growing, like in 2015 what the city was in. Like we were just having a conversation. I was showing him a building near IKEA, and I was telling him like this was the only building which existed, and suddenly he remembered like he came to that building like few years again, but he couldn't recognize.
So I suddenly realized that that's the building I came, and at that point of time it was a vast hinterlands around it. So it was very unbelievable sort of thing to understand that it's the same space just 8 years across, but now it is one of the prime core spaces of the city.
Yeah, like it's like we're building like a lot, but like somehow you're not taking care of our built spaces which have been existing. Like especially the whole city, there are a lot of spaces. I mean, like which the government is trying to do, take care of them, but like we somehow feel the intent is not there. I mean, intent and also the right people to do the job. Like it's not just to do a lime plaster and keep the building. It's not like a makeup you do and then put the ready. And like I was just going through other day around Charminar, and there was a huge crack and something like fall apart from Charminar column. Like I mean, it's the oldest structure in Hyderabad, and like if we are not able to save our oldest structure, the foundation of Hyderabad, so what's the point? Like to be a global city.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh my god, I mean that's the one thing I came to Hyderabad and I was like, it's crazy that you can see history.
Yes,
exactly.
Like you don't do that in the US, at least in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And maybe I can go into the Philadelphia and I can see Liberty Bell like in this pristine like glass thing, but it's not like literally walking into the building and being like, wow, this is it. Like,
even this building, if you see,
it's
a
colonial building.
Yeah, just like fully experience being immersed in it because it's just part of the history.
And still like also the other thing is like this building also teaches a lot about the context and the vernacular system, where like if you go to the high tech city which is like IT and all that, like it's all glass buildings. So, and we are like we can basically talk about heat island and effect and all that, and like the sad point is like we're not studying this building. Like if we go inside these buildings and see, it's like we don't need ACs in this building. So this sort of systems and like understanding of the functionality and the materiality, we are all losing a bit. And especially somehow like I would also say like the architectural fraternity, the educational fraternity is also to be blamed here a bit, in terms of the education what we get and all that. Like like if we start talking, there are
I know
so many things.
I'd love to hear about how you've done exhibitions and in curation, because something that's obviously important that I've just done because of this project is to curate spaces.
The first curation project, it was in the college we were working in. There was a photography competition that was held, and we took up we sort of volunteered saying that in the end you're going to have 20 best entries. So why not we display them since the competition is for the World Heritage Day, and the theme at that point of time was heritage and climate. It was, by ICOMOS. So we thought it was a very, and we are quite vocal about. We are very conscious about the climate crisis and the lot of changes that the globe is going through, and we humans, a lot of vulnerable communities that are being affected. So we wanted to really create a sort of a very experiential installation where amidst which those photographs can be sort of presented. So what we have done is we took up there is a large windowless hall that is available in the college. So we got it all painted in pitch white completely, and we filled the entire floor with sand. Sand, and we sort of created a pink. We just took PVC pipes and
Magenta.
we painted them, spray painted in magenta, and we tied cotton cloths to it. And on the top of the cloths, the photographs are pinned up. So, and the cotton cloths also, sort of the bottom part of it are sort of immersed. The previous day they were dipped in the mud water, so they are stained with mud. So it visually it feels like the sand is seeping. So the entire idea was that these are the doorways of the past, which are the photographs of the heritage structures that are hanged on the cotton part. The sand is in the hall. I mean, it is out of place. Sand should be beside river or someplace on beside the beach, where it is in the middle of a room, which is brought by humans. So this, we wanted to symbolically say this is what a climate change is about, and now it is seeping through the cloth towards the heritage structures.
Oh
so,
my goodness,
yeah.
that's I would have. Wow, I wish I could have gone to that.
So I think
That's awesome.
we did this in like
A week time.
week time. In what's the budget? I think we can say
Like $10.
$100. I think.
Yeah, $100.
$150 is the budget.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Are there pictures? Or
Yes,
like,
Yeah, we
I
can
can share with you.
Yeah, please
You want
share.
to
We'll
show?
do like a whole.
Instagram lo undi.
Or,
He's so-
yeah, if you share your
Okay.
Instagram with me, because then I can also see the. I can
Yeah,
connect to the video.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll share.
Awesome. Thanks. And I'll just end with like one last question. I feel like we could talk forever.
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
honest. But so what are your hopes for the future of preservation here in Hyderabad?
I mean, to do the right thing. Like, it's not about like, to do something big versus to do something great. Like, the most important thing to do is to do the right thing. And also, we need to make like common people aware of it, especially and to start off with, like, the school should be aware of it, the children. So I mean, the best thing would be to do is basically open up all these heritage spaces, like, I mean, like at least once in a year, like, to start off with, and like, where we can have some sort of like open exhibitions or like or fair, basically in these structures, because, like, for example, if you go to the city college, it has a very nice courtyard. Like, it feels like somewhere you are in Granada or something like that, like with the lush green and all that. Like, like if you can do something there, and like, or like any like old city like Kushida, Devri, or any structure, you just bring people there and like make them understand, like, what is this heritage, what is, and like, so the interest starts from there, and then slowly, like, to restore all these buildings in a right way, like, I mean, and to basically save it, like, not to demolish anything of it, and also, like, I mean, as you are saying, repurposing, and like, if you can basically make this buildings again, like, be more publicly open, like giving the public a chance to own them, they should be entitled. So like, I think we'll do definitely great.
Coming to adding to what Rahul said, the points. One thing I would always believe in is that to approach, I mean, definitely heritage is something. I mean, to be truthful, there is no history which is devoid of the agenda of the particular brain, whoever is ruling, be it a party or be it a sitting down. Everyone has their own agendas. We are not saying that don't have agendas. Have your agendas, but keep your intent with little grounded. Approach it with little mindfulness and humility, because these things add a lot of value to how the heritage is being transformed. So with humility and some sort of that kind of approach, and with right people, as he was saying, and with right people and right methods in place, we won't do a surface layer work, we won't do facade work, which is what's happening right now in a lot of parts in Hyderabad and a lot of other parts in the world also.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, in the country.
In the country, especially, it was purely facade. Okay, just touch-ups, just for the sake of, and
don't erase anything.
Don't erase anything.
Yeah.
Erasure.
I mean, it's not your
something-
right to
It's not
erase.
your right. Exactly. Erasure is something that has been happening quite badly, and that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, in terms of like built heritage or like unbuilt heritage, anything like the erasure should not happen, is what we feel, because everyone, like, if you're erasing something, you're losing a privilege of someone, you know,
Absolutely.
or like, because like the future generation might not able to see or understand, like, you know, what you have erased, or because it might not exist.
And there are a lot of erasures that naturally are happening either because of disasters or some other accidents or calamities or changes over time. There is erasures that are beyond our control, but there are certain controls that are part of the governance. I mean, there is a five-year ruling period for a government, so they can focus that period to be more mindful about what are the methods they are implementing in the sense and everything. So during my masters, we used to study this. We studied Calcutta, and even Lucknow city in terms of the palimpsest nature of the cities, like how there is a certain erasure happens, and over which a new layer is always added. That's how naturally cities grow. But that was at one point of time when we are not even conscious about the city's history and heritage. Now we are in a period where 2023, and now we should be more conscious about the history, and especially considering the kind of the politics that are revolving around the entire globe, right?
Yeah.
So that's something, and somehow I feel people a lot of. I mean, for example, there are a couple of structures which, as architects, we hate that are being built in the city, but general public loves them. There's something new, something beautiful came up. But we don't blame them. I mean, that is coming from a sense of innocence. But you shouldn't take that general public's innocence and intellect for granted,
Yeah, to do
assuming that
whatever.
give them anything they will be satisfied. The
Yeah.
government and the sort of the people who are accountable in general should be more responsible in terms of how it should be preserved and how it should be presented to the public in a sense.
That's a really important representation.
Yeah.
Especially.
Sorry to extend this very minor thing. One of my seniors in college used to say that, like about heritage. Like that's when I was in my third year, I think. He said, our government is, for example, if we have an old person at home, the kind of way we treat the heritage right now is leave the old person into a corner, put a nice garden around them, and leave them alone. That is not how we treat them. We should interact with them, let them reuse them, help them, make them part of our society. So that was a nice metaphor that was stuck with my mind. I mean, it was like, that makes a lot of sense. Why to exclude them? I think we should keep them as part of our everyday life. I mean, we can always put them on a pedestal, but the pedestal can also be accessible every day.
That's so good. That's a really great metaphor. Wow.